Look at the Gospel of Matthew, chapters 5 through 7, and you will find the Sermon on the Mount. It contains the most recognizable teachings of Jesus and forms the practical baseline for Christian ethics. Because of this profound textual legacy, thousands of visitors arrive here every week, expecting to step right into an untouched, ancient archaeological landscape. This is the actual view from the Mount of Beatitudes today. You won't be navigating ancient stones. Instead, the prominent structure dominating the hilltop is a modern building completed in the late 1930s. While tour buses cycle constantly through the paved parking lots at the summit, the original Byzantine foundation sits at the bottom of the slope behind a locked perimeter fence, entirely off-limits. If you arrive expecting a tactile archaeological dig, you're going to leave frustrated. To get any real value out of your stop, you have to approach this site as a highly managed modern memorial. For anyone planning an itinerary, this raises a practical dilemma. Do you budget 15 minutes for a quick photo, or half a day for a dedicated religious retreat? A matrix maps expectations against reality. First, the historical purist seeks ancient evidence but hits inaccessible ruins. Second, the tourist wants striking visuals, aligning with the modern structure. Third, the pilgrim needs a quiet space within the busy tourist hub. The Mount of Beatitudes is designed to prioritize the surrounding landscape rather than historical artifacts. Because of that, each of these three visitor types must clear entirely different logistical hurdles to make the trip worthwhile. If you are the historical purist, you know that the original Byzantine church dedicated to the Sermon on the Mount is located far down the slope, away from the modern complex. It was partially excavated decades ago, but it was never restored to a condition that safely allows public visitation. Warning tone: do not try to hike down the hill to find it. You will spend 20 minutes walking through brush, only to hit a locked, rusted gate. Aside from a small historical marker, there are no visible artifacts to inspect. The effort of hunting down the original foundation offers zero archaeological payoff. On an effort-to-impact scale, this is what that looks like. Hiking to the Byzantine ruins drops you squarely into the bottom left quadrant. It eats up your time and yields almost nothing. As a purist, you have to accept that the physical site is an abstraction. Your time is better spent stopping to appreciate the natural geography of the region, which remains exactly as it was 2 millennia ago. For the general tourist, the top of the hill is where the action is. About 90 years ago, an Italian order of Catholic nuns known as the Franciscan sisters purchased this specific plot of land. They hired the brilliant architect Antonio Barluzzi to build a new memorial. But Barluzzi faced a major constraint. He had absolutely zero ancient ruins to incorporate into the new floor plan. So he pivoted. If he couldn't showcase history, he would design the church to frame the one element that had survived intact: the panoramic landscape. This wide view highlights the building's 8-sided octagonal dome. Barluzzi chose this shape first to represent the 8 Blessed Are verses found in the text of the Sermon on the Mount, but it also aligns with an ancient Roman architectural tradition. In antiquity, if you wanted to build a structure specifically to commemorate a person or event, you built an octagon. The church's construction in the late 1930s also generated a bizarre piece of political trivia. Because the Franciscan order originated in Italy, the church was actually dedicated at its inauguration to the Italian leader at the time, Benito Mussolini. The nuns later scrubbed his name from the mosaic floorboards, but the trivia stuck. Today, visiting the interior requires navigating strict rules enforced by the sisters. You must maintain absolute silence, and the floor plan forces you to walk in a continuous circle around the central altar just to look out Barluzzi's windows. You cannot stop to talk. This means all tour guides must deliver their historical briefings and architectural explanations outside on the balconies or in the gardens. For the tourist, you trade ancient authenticity for an aesthetically pleasing memorial with a quirky backstory. Because you cannot linger inside, an optimal visit requires no more than 15 minutes of navigating the exterior perimeter. Now consider the spiritual pilgrim. Large religious groups arriving with the specific intent to hold a private mass or communal worship. The immediate friction here is obvious. You cannot hold a quiet spiritual service inside the main church, while hundreds of tourists silently march in a circle around you. But the site has a built-in solution. The grounds contain several private outdoor altars positioned down below the main thoroughfare, completely out of sight from the casual foot traffic. There is also a dedicated pilgrim hotel adjacent to the church, allowing religious groups to stay overnight and access the grounds early in the morning or late in the day. Achieving a meaningful religious experience here requires heavy logistical effort. You have to book those private altars and hotel rooms weeks in advance. But if you put in that work, you get an exclusive spiritual space, entirely shielded from the tourist bottleneck. Look at this wide view of the Sea of Galilee. It confirms exactly what the modern Mount of Beatitudes is, a monument built to frame the surrounding landscape, rather than a preserved piece of antiquity. Let's map out your options. Seeking ruins sits at low impact, low effort. The architectural walk is high impact, low effort. Private mass is high effort, high impact. Without a plan, you'll wander into that seeking ruins quadrant, looking for something that isn't there. That time is wasted, whereas a highly directed architectural walk or a pre-booked mass yields immediate, tangible returns. A successful visit relies entirely on matching the time you have available with the specific goal of your persona. To lock in your strategy, use this scorecard. For the purist, skip the downhill walk, acknowledge history from the top. For the tourist, allocate 15 minutes. Skip the interior line, focus on balcony views. For the pilgrim, pre-arrange private altars, never expect an impromptu mass. If you read online reviews complaining about crowds, strict rules, or a lack of history, you are reading the complaints of people who ignored these specific lanes. Treat the modern Mount of Beatitudes exactly for what it is, a beautifully curated viewing platform requiring precise logistics. Do that, and you will extract exactly the value you need and leave the frustration behind.